You are 27. It is March 2007, and you have just been assigned to audit the 17th floor of Bernard L. Madoff Investment Securities. The book says $65 billion into client money. The man down the hall has not lost in 17 years. The standard story says Madoff is a genius. The real story is the math never worked. One outsider has already proved it. The SEC has been told 5 times. By the end of this video, you will know how a $65 billion fraud ran from one floor for 17 years. But first, picture how almost nobody noticed for almost 2 decades. Bernard L. Madoff Investment Securities occupies 3 floors of the Lipstick Building in Midtown Manhattan. The firm has run since 1960. Madoff himself was the founding chairman of the NASDAQ. Floors 18 and 19 run the legitimate market-making business. Traders, screens, real volume on the NASDAQ. Everything you would expect to see at a Wall Street broker-dealer. Floor 17 runs something called investment advisory. The door is locked. You need a separate key card. The official story is that this floor manages $65 billion of client money using a strategy called split strike conversion. It is supposed to clip steady profits off S&P 100 options. Your assignment is simple. Open one of these client statements. Verify the trades against the central clearing system. Sign the audit form. Move on. So you open one. Here is the trick. The numbers on the statement are mathematically impossible. Madoff has reported 10.5% annual returns from 1989 to 2007. Every year. Through the 1990 recession. Through the dot-com crash. Through 9/11. Only 7 negative months in 2015. That is not investing. That is statistically a flat line. You run the Sharpe ratio, 2.5. No hedge fund in the world has ever sustained that across 2 decades. The next best on record is around 1.6. The split strike strategy claims to use S&P 100 options to clip premium. You pull the CBOE open interest data for 2006 to see how many contracts exist. You draw a bar chart comparing what Madoff claims he traded to the total open interest in the whole market. His claim trades require more S&P 100 options than the entire market traded that day. The strategy on paper does not fit on the planet. Here's the part nobody mentions. You are not the first person to do this math. In May 2000, a Boston options analyst named Harry Markopolos ran the same calculation in 5 minutes. He spent another 4 hours proving it. Then he wrote an 8-page memo to the SEC titled, "The World's Largest Hedge Fund is a Fraud." The memo sat in a drawer at the Boston regional office. No action. Markopolos submitted again in October 2001. Same math, same conclusion, same drawer. And again in November 2005, this time a 21-page memo with 29 red flags. He named the strategy, named the implausibility, named the math. The SEC opened a file. They assigned a 2-year associate with no derivatives background to read it. The associate closed the file. Across 16 years, the SEC received 6 substantive complaints about Madoff. They opened 2 investigations and 3 examinations. They missed the fraud every single time. The math was visible. They simply did not look. You write a 1-line memo at the bottom of your legal pad. The trades do not exist. So you walk down the corridor to the senior partner's office. One number is worth holding in your head before you knock. By 2007, a single Madoff feeder fund called Fairfield Century is funneling $7 billion a year into the 17th floor. King 8 adds billions more. Banco Santander's Optimal Strategic adds billions more. Tremont adds billions more. None of the feeder funds know Madoff is a Ponzi. They are also not paid to ask. They are paid to deliver flat returns to their European and Latin American clients, and Madoff delivers them. Back to your audit. The question you cannot let go of is the DTCC. You knock on Frank DePascali's door. He has worked here since 1975. He is Madoff's right hand, the 17th floor. The 17th floor is his floor. You ask why the trades on the client statement never show on the DTCC clearing system. He tells you the investment advisory business uses a different settlement system. He uses the words proprietary and in-house. He does not give you a name. No such system exists. A U.S. broker-dealer in 2007 either settles through the DTCC or it does not settle at all. You walk to Annette Bongiorno's office. She has worked for Madoff since 1968. Almost 40 years. She runs the Daily Ribbon. The Ribbon is the live printing of the customer statements that arrive in the mail every Tuesday. Thousands of pages every week. A federal jury will later hear that the Ribbon was built from historical S&P 100 prices, reverse engineered to match the promised returns. Trades chosen after the fact. You ask Annette why the prices on the ribbon never include the morning spread, why every fill is at the day's average, not the day's range. She tells you Frank handles the IA accounts. She does not look up from the printer. You walk back to Frank. He tells you the audit is done externally. He hands you a single business card, a firm in Rockland County, 30 miles north of Manhattan. You drive up there. The audit of $65 billion in client money is done by a 3-person accounting shop in a strip mall next to a nail salon. David Freeling, the sole proprietor, will plead guilty in 2009. He never actually audited the books. He signed the opinion forms anyway. So you drive back to Manhattan with nothing. Here's the part nobody mentions about the people on the 17th floor. The wall around them is not technical. It is social. Every senior figure on this floor has either taken a paycheck for 20 to 40 years not to ask, or has been hired specifically for their willingness not to. You pick up the phone and call Harry Markopolos in Boston. He tells you the SEC has been told 5 times. An SEC staff attorney named Megan Chung told him in 2006 that the SEC had already looked into Madoff and that Madoff had, quote, a reputation. You hang up. It is 2007. You have the math. You have the senior partner, Stonewall. You have the SEC's refusal across 5 separate submissions. And it does not matter. The audit will not catch this fraud. The fraud will be caught by a liquidity squeeze. The Ponzi needs new money every month to pay out the redemptions of last month. When the inflow stops, the thing dies in days. September 15, 2008. Lehman Brothers files for bankruptcy. The financial system shudders. Within weeks, Madoff investors panic. The Europeans pull first, then the Americans. Redemption requests pour in. By early December 2008, Madoff faces $7 billion in withdrawal requests he cannot meet. The Ponzi runs out of new money. You read the news on the morning of December 11, 2008. Bernard Madoff confessed to his 2 sons the night before. The sons contacted a federal attorney within hours. On the morning of December 11, 2008, the FBI arrests him in his apartment in his bathrobe. You read the plea transcript on March 12, 2009, 11 federal felonies. Securities fraud, investment advisor fraud, mail fraud, wire fraud, 3 counts of money laundering, perjury, false filings, theft from an employee benefit plan. On June 29, 2009, Judge Denny Chin sentences him to 150 years, the maximum the statute allows. You read the verdict on the wire service printout, March 24, 2014. 5 of Madoff's mid-level employees convicted after a 5-month trial. Bonventre, 10 years. Bongiorno, 6 years. Krupi, 6 years. O'Hara and Perez, 30 months each. The 2 programmers who wrote the software that printed the fake statements. And the human cost no auditor could have prevented. Bernard Madoff's older son Mark hangs himself in his Manhattan apartment on December 11, 2010. He was never charged. He died on the anniversary anyway. Total reported losses on the customer statements, $65 billion. Actual principal lost by clients, $17.5 billion. The 17th floor ran a 17-year fraud on a coast-to-coast client list. And the system caught itself only when it ran out of new money. You read the OIG's own conclusion. 6 complaints in 16 years, 2 investigations, 3 examinations. None of them found a fraud sitting in plain view. The auditor was not the failure point. The system was. So when the next auditor walks onto the next 17th floor and asks the same question, the same architecture is waiting. Read the 3 layers of the Madoff story together, and the lesson is not that the auditor should have asked harder. The lesson is that the architecture of trust around name figures with reputations defeats any single junior staffer who tries to ask. The 17th floor did not get away with the fraud because nobody checked the math. It got away with it because every person with the standing to act on the math had already taken a paycheck not to ask. That is the part nobody mentions about Madoff. The math was always visible. The system was built so that nobody who could see it had a reason to look. If you want the next one, hit subscribe. There is a lot more hidden in plain sight, and most of it is sitting in court records nobody reads. The description has links to the OIG report, the Markopolos memo, and the trial transcripts. The math was always visible. Most of it still is.